Welcome back everyone, Dirch here, and holy crap, we've had a busy 10-ish days in Borderlands with 2 hotfixes and 1 patch, another one coming in the 30-day, and maybe we'll get another hotfix before then, who knows, but Gearbox is definitely upping their game with how they're handling all this. Now some of you are mad because the things you want fixed aren't fixed yet, but we're still pretty new, and they have confirmed they're working on the big things like the bank reset and a bunch more performance stuff. Those would be the big ones. But Noel has confirmed they're working on those, so rather than get stuck in the muck on the stuff that isn't done yet but they're working on, let's talk about what they did and how it's new. Because they're definitely taking a new approach to this that we did not see in Borderlands 1, 2, or the pre-sequel, and this is kind of interesting, I think. So the first one put out on September 19th. There's a bunch of bug fixes. I'm not going to really go over those. This will all be linked in the description below so you can check it out. Then they hit a bunch of balance updates. So the first ones were iridium crystals and Veracitus canopy grow less frequently. That's not a big deal. Iridium comes so fast in this game, I'm not concerned about it. The big one, the amount of loot drops have been scaled down in Mayhem mode. Legendaries were dropping like more frequently than whites in Mayhem mode, or greens. It was pretty crazy. It was fun, but it wasn't good for the long term of the game if you can just get everything within seconds. So I agree with that. Did they get the balance right of it? I'm not sure. And hopefully they continue to tweak that and get it right. But in Borderlands 2, it took them years to address drop rates, and now they're doing it within a week. So I think this is a very good thing. Torg's shotgun sticky damage has been reduced. It was stupid high, and Torg's sticky damage is still really good. This is fine. E-Tech shotgun elemental damage has been reduced from flesh off your bones to a lot. We don't know exactly what that means, but I didn't really use any of those before. I don't know how broken they were, so I don't have much to say on that. Chupacabra's drop rates were nerfed. He was dropping too much, and he's such a short farm, and he's still a good farm. That's the thing, so it's okay. Adjusted spawn rate of loot tanks. I think they over-adjusted this. They should be special, but I was hoping they'd be not quite so rare. After this was done, I did a run like 20 times on that one quick spot, and he never showed up once. And I don't know, if you run it 20 times, you see him. Remove some pain sounds from Troy for his boss fight. There's more of those sounds that need to be kind of rolled back, and I think they actually did a second one of it. So the first hotfix, it was done on 9/19. Game came out on 9/13. It was a 6-day turnaround. That's pretty good. Not a lot in it, but in 6 days you can't expect the world. Then on 9/26 they actually put out a patch. Now they always talked about a 30-day patch, but not kind of a 2-week patch. So this was a nice surprise. They addressed some performance issues, not all of them. Now some people reported they found the opposite. I've found them better, but on PC it's tough because there's so many different hardware combinations out there. You're gonna have some step backs for some people as you step forward. For others, it's just the nature of PC gaming. Then they had some general fixes. These I'll let you kind of read through. Some of these general ones were to help kind of some quality of life or some performance stuff, and just a bunch of little things. There's a bunch of UI fixes in here, and there's quite a bit in here if you read through it all. They addressed some split screen and online multiplayer. So this patch was mainly a lot of performance stuff. It didn't really address any balancing, but there was, let's see, so I don't know, like 12 UI adjustments, a bunch, maybe 8 split screen online multiplayer ones. So there's quite a bit in here. It wasn't enough for a lot of people, but it was there. The big thing is here they nerfed the pipe bomb. And it wasn't a nerf, it's a bad word, it was a fix. They said this grenade was never meant to explode multiple times. All enemies in the Borderlands universe are safe from instantly being melted by radioactive poop. Kind of funny there, but yeah, it was never supposed to be to act like it does. So that was the big thing in that. Now people are really, kind of crying nerf. But they said from the get-go this wasn't working as intended. A bunch of streamers said that, a bunch of people on YouTube, so everyone should have been expecting this and not been too upset about it. Now, this was on 9/26. Now, 9/27, the day after, another hotfix. This is crazy how fast this comes. And this one is where it gets really interesting, because the other stuff was kind of standard. One or two broken things, let's fix those, let's work on some performance. But all of a sudden they put out a balance hotfix. And before I get into this hotfix, I want to spend a lot of time talking about this. Borderlands 2, the only time they really readjusted gear in a significant way was a year after release with the loot hunt, where they rebalanced a bunch of gear. Before then, I think they patched the Evil Smasher, which was not working as intended, and patched the B, which was not working as intended with multi-pellet guns. So that's all they really did. And then for player skills, it was 2015 when they put out a big patch 2 years after the game came out. I think it came out in 2013, or was it 2012? I believe it was like 2 years after the game came out, where they addressed a bunch of skills like cloud kill and stuff. So this is kind of unprecedented here. Now let's read through this. So weapon hotfixes: sniper rifles. Sniper rifles deal high damage but felt a little cumbersome to use in certain areas. This change will increase their overall damage and increase in usability in more combat engagements. Man, they listened. Critical damage increased by 20%, fire rate increased by 15%, time to aim down sights, ADS, reduced by 15%, time to equip reduced by 20%. So, not only did I feel snipers ineffective, but I felt them hard to use and slow to use, and when I was trying to use them in combat, I just felt like everything was dead by my friends playing before I could even ADS, and they're addressing this, so they're listening well, and these are good fixes. I've done a little sniping since then, and I don't know if it's right yet, but it's a hell of a lot better. Pistols. Jacobs and Torg pistols were outperforming other manufacturers, dealing damage to groups of enemies at a much higher rate than other pistols. The change keeps their identity intact, but reduces overall group control. TDR and COV pistols have manufacturer penalties that affected their overall damage. Increasing their overall damage will overcome some of the penalties while retaining their unique gameplay style of feel. So we don't know how all the parts work and everything yet, but I agree with this overall statement. When I was leveling up my first few characters, it really was not a looter shooter. It was the quest for the next Jacobs pistol while I gained levels. And that's not a good way to play the game. You should be looking for all kinds of different guns. I tried Jacobs shotguns. I'm like, I might as well use the pistol. It's better. Like Jacobs assault rifle. Might as well use Jacobs pistol. It's better. Jacobs sniper. Jacobs pistol is better. Any Mollywong gun. Jacobs pistol is better. Jacobs pistol pretty much is better than everything. And I guess the Torg one's really good too. I have a history of not liking those, so I didn't really go after too many. But, so I like this. So TDR and Dahl pistols were increased by 15% damage. COV went up by 20%, which is cool, because I like COV pistols. Jacobs pistols went down by 15% and Torg down by 10%. A lot of people are really upset about this Jacobs one, especially with some of the flak stuff coming later. But they were so OP that it was the only gun in the game worth using, and that's not good for the health of the game. When I level up, I want to be looking at all guns on the ground, not just looking for a Jacobs pistol. And Jacobs pistols are still going to be very powerful. They're still very fast. They still have really fast reloads. They're fine. Some people are saying, oh, it was balanced because their recoil and slow fire rate. They don't have a slow fire rate. Their recoil is not even that bad. I can fan the hammer and keep it on crit. So I actually, as much as you guys know, I am a Jacobs fanboy. I love this because it was not a healthy way to address looting in the game. Maliwan. So Maliwan, I said early on that I really don't like how Maliwan is, even before the game was out. And once it was out, I did not find them impactful. SMGs I thought would be the ones that I want, but they just seemed weak. So they addressed some of this stuff. Maliwan weapons had reduced overall damage because they applied dots at a rate and damage greatly above other manufacturers. This effect was toned down before launch, but the overall damage was not sufficiently adjusted to compensate for the reduction in dots. Or added back some of the overall damage and making the weapons faster, so elemental builds can really take advantage of Maliwan weaponry. They increased their damage by 25% and fire rate by 20%. I kind of wish they would have left the damage and brought the dots back up, but maybe there was an issue with that. But so far, a lot of people are saying dots feel weak in this game. It would have been cool if they kind of brought back the Maliwan Dot Kings. But I will say I have been using Maliwan guns, and they feel much, much better. And I just tested out the Storms, and they were both good, but there's some things in the way, and both of these things should help that. And there's some stuff further down below that's going to help it further. Atlas. Atlas weapons relied on a game loop we felt gave players a greater advantage when used correctly. Turns out the loop is not used if the damage doesn't compensate for the time to set up. So now the damage on Atlas weapons should facilitate players using them in general, on top of feeling badass when they take advantage of Atlas technology. So all Atlas guns up 25%. This is cool. I pretty much felt that. I would use the tracker and kind of shoot things, but it didn't feel worth the time to constantly swap tracker, smart bullets, tracker, smart bullets. So maybe this will make it worthwhile. I'm going to have to use some and test them and see. But this makes me think they're really looking at shift data because they know how people are playing, what people are using. And that's important to balancing a game. If they go, hey, we did this Atlas thing, we think it's cool, but nobody's using them, we need to address it to make people want to use it. And it looks like they're getting a lot more data out of shift to properly balance their guns. Then they did some miscellaneous ones. Jacob's assault rifle change was to determine the assault rifle, or differentiate the assault rifle from a pistol, is more of a mid to long range powerhouse. Since the assault rifles have low mag compared to their other assault rifles, they're getting a slight increase to overall damage to compensate. Doll SMGs had their fire rate adjusted down before launch, but their damage was never significantly increased, so they should feel more appropriate. And the Vladov heavy damage has been increased to share in the full heavy weapon treatment. This is quite a bit. Jacob's ARs up by 20%. I like this because before, again, like I was saying, I just used a pistol instead of an AR. I tried Jacob's ARs, but pistols were just better. So hopefully this addresses that. Doll SMG. In the pre-release stuff, I got a Doll SMG, just destroyed everything. Looks like they toned them down a little bit because they were too good, but this should bring them a little bit back in line. I like it. I haven't really gotten the heavy weapons. I wasn't in the rocket launchers, so don't have a comment on that. And they brought the E-Tech TDR shotgun back up. Not all E-Techs, but I guess the TDRs were left behind, so that's a little interesting as well. All good fixes, and for a lot of people kind of mad about the next part, I should just hold off on that. So they also address legendary modifications. Their verbiage here was, we're going to be making larger, comprehensive legendary gear pass, but we've included the following changes. King and Queen's Call were modified to lower the fire rate. The weapon has a limited burst shot count, so the overall feel of the gun isn't dramatically affected. King and Queen's Call fire rate reduced by 50%. This is a big change to that, but this gun was wrecking people in, like, it was wrecking bosses in seconds. It was obviously broken, especially with a way to make it pretty much unlimited fire rate with certain characters, because the fire rate, when it's a two-shot, something like the Twister was a slow fire rate, but it didn't matter because it was a two-shot. That's how these were kind of meant to be, but with the mechanics of the game, people were making them pretty much unlimited, and with that fire rate, they were broken. So they're still going to be able to kill bosses pretty good, but they're not going to be as broken, and I think they're being flat out bad for mobbing. I'm okay with this right now. A lot of people are really upset, but Flak can still melt bosses in seconds. Now, the cool thing is the Rowan's Call is similar, and that just got a boost. So maybe move on to that. I don't know. But Jacob's Assault Rifles, there's some good legendary ones, like the Gatling, the Becca, the Rowan's Call, and this might help the Lead Storm, is it? Yeah, I don't think it's actually a Lead Storm, but the other one that I did a video on. I'm blanking on the name right now. But they all got a 20% damage increase, which could be very interesting to all of those. And then the next one is something I really love. The Firestorm and Storm base charge time are reduced to 1 second, down from 2. So the Firestorm and Storm got their charge time cut in half, which is huge. They had their critical damage increased by 20%. That's awesome. Their fire rate increased by 15%. Their ADS time and time to equip fixed. But then they also had further fire rate increased by all Maliwan weapon and a 25% damage. So they had their damage, critical hit damage, fire rate twice, charge time cut in half. These things could be really interesting right now. So this is cool. Now, if you do the math, so far we have a lot more buffs than nerfs. Keep that in mind. A lot of people are crying they're nerfing everything. They're actually buffing more than they're nerfing. But the really interesting thing here, too, is we're going to be making a larger, comprehensive legendary gear pass. So there's some underwhelming stuff right now. It could get a lot better, and this is very cool. Some stuff might get toned down a little bit, but what they're going to do is they're going to bring everything kind of in line. And that's something they have not done historically, other than one time in Borderlands 2. Grave Ward. They did a bunch of things with the Grave Ward. They lowered his health. They made him more resistant to elemental damage, and they made some of his attacks deal more damage, so he should be a better fight now. Some people are saying he's even easier the way they set him up, so this isn't a huge deal, but it's cool that they're addressing some bosses. A couple of big miscellaneous changes. Hollow Point was not working as intended, so they just disabled it while they're addressing it in a future patch. Cool. Means they're working on it. Vault Hunter should no longer scream when affected by dots while shields are active. Good, because a lot of that screaming was annoying. Now can you tone down the jabber? Item of the day is getting better. Good. Some visual things, and then some more legendary drop balancing, and we'll see how this affects things. The crew challenges enemies will drop their intended specific loot, but some enemies like Troy and Rampager will be a bit more stingy and no longer drop legendaries every kill. So they're toning down some bosses, making some unique enemies better. We'll see how it works in the end. The cool other big part is Vault Hunter adjustments. This is very interesting. This is something that they only ever did once in Borderlands 2, and I don't think they ever did it in the pre-sequel or Borderlands 1. And now they're doing it within a couple weeks of release, and they're going to do more. And that's very intriguing that they're listening to our concerns already. So a lot of people were saying Zane is quite a bit underbuffed, and they got some verbiage here. Zane's gadgets were great at providing additional utility but lacked impact as players leveled up, which is true. We increased the Digiclone damage with all equipped weapons so the skill can scale better as players get to higher level and harder count. The drone requires a lot of player involvement to take full advantage of its damage output, and increasing the base damage as well as the augments will greatly increase its versatility and reward players more for using it effectively. So Digiclone damage increased by 38%. It's an odd number, but they're getting down to what they want. Drone damage, 50% increase. Big. Cryo bullet damage penalty removed. That's awesome. drone rocket damage increased by 50%. Awesome. Almighty ordnance rockets damage increased by 75%. So they're not messing around there. Amara. This one confused a lot of people, and I didn't hear any complaints that it was too powerful or anything, but I don't think it's gonna be a big impact. Is the Guardian Angel health restoration reduced from 100% to 50%? Its Guardian Angel still works, it's just you don't get up with 100% health. And she's got a lot of health steals, so ways to heal, so I don't think that's the biggest thing in the world. And then the cool thing is the Glamour damage penalty reduced from -30 to -10. So they gave her one small nerf and one small buff. Or, I mean, it's a 20% buff on that, so that's good. Flak got hit with a nerf stick, and he needed to because Gorillas in the Mist was stupid. Let's read what they said about it and then talk about that a little bit. So, Gorillas in the Mist bonus greatly outweighed its penalty to the base skill. We don't want to remove the playstyle completely, but the overall damage output had to be slightly adjusted because it was outperforming other builds. We're monitoring the changes and may make another change to the ammo return in the future patch. So Gorilla in the Mist duration reduced from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. And the critical damage bonus reduced from 50% to 25%. Yeah, I'm quite okay with this. People have already showed that they can still wreck bosses in no time with this skill. 6 seconds is enough to get through a phase, or in the Grave Ward you can kill the whole thing in under that 6 seconds. So this is still kind of OP. Basically everybody was just using this with Flak. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. There's all these different action skills and variety, and people were just using the one thing. Now, a lot of people said they're mad because they nerfed a bunch of Flak stuff, but they didn't buff the pet tree, they didn't buff anything else. And I agree with that to a point, but they're not done. They're still working on this stuff. We're probably going to see a lot of that. Moe's didn't get anything, and the Iron Bear needs some endgame love. So some of that stuff just takes further testing to get it right. They did quite a bit here in the first 2 weeks, so I'm not too worried about that. And hopefully we see those soon. So I like the Flak changes. Now, when you take the Flak changes on top of the Jacob's pistols and the King and Queen guns, that stuff was all popular Flak stuff. But then if you take some of the buffs that happened, you know, the sniper buffs, well, the Ludo with him in Gorillas in the Mist is now insanely deadly. The Rowan's Call got better. The Becca got better. You know, maybe some of these Mollywong guns are going to be broken with him now with those buffs. We don't really know all this yet. There's a lot of stuff, but things also got buffed. Gorillas in the Mist is still going to be one of the most powerful things in the game, just by the nature of it. They'd have to pretty much remove it and redo it completely to not make it powerful, because non-stop crits for 6 seconds is broken. Or 8 seconds was broken. 6 seconds is still really strong. And even with the damage bonus reduced, you still have your regular critical hit bonus. This is a bonus on top of that. So it's still insanely deadly. And some people complain, well, it was 6 seconds. Well, bombing, I could barely kill 3 enemies with my action skill. And I say, what other action skill guarantees 3 kills? Not many. A lot of them you bust out and you kill one badass, and that's your action skill. Sometimes you don't even kill one enemy with your action skill. I mean, the Gorillas in the Mist, you can kill a lot of bosses in one duration, or at least a phase in one direction. Not a ton of action skills do that. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty dumb complaint when you compare it to the rest of the action skills in the game. But I'm really excited because they are addressing a lot of things. They're addressing them fast, and it seems like they're addressing them with a lot of data and kind of doing some smart things. You know, Gorilla in the Mist, they hit it from 2 different sides, which I like. A lot of people don't. They say leave it at 8 seconds, but take away the critical hit damage bonus completely, and this and that. Again, 8 seconds is a long time in a first-person shooter. So is 6 seconds. I mean, a kill skill is, what, 7.5? Almost 8 seconds. So, Yeah, I'm okay with this stuff. I think it's largely great. I think the King and Queen's Call may have got overhit, but they're way, way too good. I haven't tried them since it. But, I mean, so much of this other stuff is so good. Jacob's Pistols needed it. Flak needed it. And you look at everything else, they all got buffs. I don't know about Torgue Pistols, but the cool thing is they are listening to us. I brought up the Maggie was over nerfed. Noelle said she's looking at that. So they are listening. They have things on their list. And they are actively and aggressively balancing a Borderlands game for the first time ever. And that's an exciting thing. We're going to have some bumps of things we don't like, but we're going to have a lot of things that we do like. And this is cool because Borderlands 2, the pre-sequel, Borderlands 1, they all suffered from a lot of lackluster legendary guns. And this is really awesome. So let me know what you guys think. I love it, and I will talk to you all later. Thanks for watching. Bye.